Welcome, superheroes, to the Dandy Bugle, where I, Dandelion, interview members of the real-life superhero community on their involvement with hero work and public community service. Today, we have Painted Tarot joining the crime scene, wearing their amazing super suit. Welcome, darling. I hope you're doing well today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, why don't you introduce yourself and describe the work that you do to the audience?
Right, absolutely. So I'm Painted Tarot, but you can call me Tarot for short. I am a real life superhero, but I kind of coined my own name as real life support hero. I still do community work, I community service, I take care of different events, and I help out with taking care of homeless or anything that has to do with protesting. I'm usually out there supporting people. But I mainly focus on mental, emotional, and physical well-being, giving out tips on how to take care of yourself. Of course, it's optional to choose to follow, but it's there for anyone needing a resource for positivity.
That's awesome. Real life support superhero. I like that.
Thank you.
So who is your favorite fictional superhero?
um, well, I have kind of a handful, and I guess it depends on where I want to go with this direction. My favorite prominent superhero, and I would consider him one, would probably be Optimus Prime. I know it's not really like a Marvel superhero or DC superhero, but Transformers in general, with Optimus specifically, he carries such a honest, kind leadership type personality that I truly look up to. I think that it's amazing to be able to lead many beings through such chaos and disaster in such a way that he does. I think it's super inspiring.
A legendary answer. Optimus Prime is definitely up there, and I would probably consider him a superhero. Some people might not, but I think he is. Who is your favorite non-fictional superhero, like in the RLSH community?
That's a tough one. Recently, I have actually started communicating and networking with a lot of different individual heroes, and all of them bring such uniqueness to the entire community in their own special ways. And I'm so absolutely honored to be able to see into that and to see like how these people interact with the community and each other. I cannot pick a favorite only because I think everyone is just so uniquely them and so inspiring. Like, despite what they are, despite the differences, all of them are so inspiring. And since networking with a couple of them, I've really got to see more of that as I continue my work.
100%. Do you mind me asking a little bit of who you've been connecting with?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been talking to Batman of San Jose, Kevlar Cat, you, a bunch of other newer heroes such as myself. Um, and I got to kind of know all of these individuals a little bit more within the past week or so. Still fairly new, but nonetheless, super meaningful to me. Um, because they're all, like I said, they're all so different, they're all so unique. And even though a lot of us kind of share the same common goals and mindsets, our overlapping way that we actually go and do these things are so different. And all of them are just so inspiring.
100%. What inspired you to join the RLSH community? Was it Optimus Prime?
I wish. um, actually, I happened to stumble across it through someone in my personal life that kind of told me about, like, they're like, hey, have you heard that this is happening? And I was kind of like, no, I never knew that. But then as I kind of started searching up RLSH, I started learning a little bit more about people and like what they actually did. And it was all stuff that I've always wanted to do or be a part of. Um, and I think that's just kind of what got me into it, because I, on the side, do costuming and all that kind of fun stuff. And I love going to conventions. And so I was like, well, that's a part of me that I'm unlocking that would push me further into where I actually want to be, you know. So that's what got me into it. Learning that it existed, I already had that desire to want to do more, you know. And yeah, that's what got me into it, really.
What is your favorite part of the RLSH community?
I love seeing the mesh of some older RLSH and the mesh of some newer. You know, there has been a big uprise within RLSH that I've noticed. With a lot of new heroes, some, you know, even like kids and children that are inspired to want to be more, to do more for their community. And watching these people grow into their actual heroes, from seeing them start as just an idea and actually watching them start their first patrols and do their first tasks, that I adore watching. I think it is so inspiring, you know, to see younger people like start to bloom, and then the heroes that are already in full bloom, you know, or not completely full, you know what I mean. You know, they're
Yeah.
still learning, everyone learns, but they're helping, you know, they help in any way that they can, that they feel comfortable with. And you can really see that in the community, and I think that really just drives hard home like what we are standing for, you know, inspiring others around us to do better, you know.
More. It's a privilege to be able to watch other heroes start to grow, including
Absolutely.
myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool, you know. It's really brings home that message of we are inspiring other people to take the next step forward.
You might not have an answer for this question, but like, do you have a least favorite part of the RLSH community? Like, is there something that you wish was different?
From personal experience, when I first started, I actually did run into a bunch of people who didn't actually embrace what it was to be an RLSH member. And oftentimes people will try to pull you into their team and into their group to try to get you to quickly join them and help them in their stuff, which doesn't always align with good morals. I experienced that immediately when I started, even before I started really making like heavy videos. It was like my first two, maybe. Um, and just me putting I'm an RLSH in my bio was enough to capture people of that subgroup, um, to kind of pull me in and be like, yeah, hey, you're really cool. You want to help us do this thing because you're a hero? And then I looked more into it, and they weren't actually what an RLSH member, like the intentions. Um, so it's just more of a caution. There are a
Mhm.
group of people that are out there with negative intention, which think that they're making a difference and think that they're doing better, but they're not, you know. So it is more of um, a realization that everyone in the community isn't as sunshine and rainbows as you'd like them to be, you
Yeah,
know.
right. What was your first mission like? How did you feel going on it in your super suit?
My first mission was kind of crazy. The best way for me to describe it was overwhelmingly disgusting. Um,
Really?
so I had gotten my supplies and I was like, you know what? And most heroes start off like this. They're like, I'm going to go do a trash run. I'm just going to go pick up stuff, you know, go do some stuff in my local community. And I ended up going to a park that was in my neighborhood. And it was a big, like, park with like there's like a water slide, and it was like a big little community, right, where a lot of people go to do sports, and it closed at like 10. And at first I walked around there, and as soon as I got in my car I was super nervous. And then I was walking in the dark because it was nighttime, because I figured it'd be easier for me to work in the dark. And it started off with like a kid saw me and I get this a lot, and it makes sense. But they're like, "Oh, it's Spider-Man," you know, which it makes sense. My costume is inspired off of his design, but um, there's that's a side story I'll tell later. But yeah, so I did kind of start basing off like interaction. I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of feel a little happy. Like there's some kids at the local park and they're, interacting with me and it's cute. So I ended up going on my way and I started doing my trash pickup and stuff. And then some lady walking her dog wouldn't even look at me. Like I could tell she was extremely uncomfortable. And I just kind of did my own thing. And I waved. I was like, hi, like, good evening. And she just kind of she wouldn't even look at me. She just went. Later on, after the park closed, like I said, it was 10. So I started walking around the perimeter on the busy streets, just picking up trash that accumulates like on the sidewalks and stuff. And as I approached the main intersection, I kind of saw something like sitting like on like the corner, where like the crosswalks are. And it was like this big mass, and I didn't see what it was at first because in my mask, when light hits me a certain way, I can't see super far.
Okay.
And because it was nighttime and it was like the red lighting of the street lights, I couldn't really see what it was. And so I was kind of like, I'm scared. I don't know what I'm looking at. So I kind of got closer and I realized it was just a big trash bag. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like I literally went out here to pick up trash and there's a giant trash bag sitting here. And the closer that I got, the more mangled it became. And I was kind of like, oh no. And it turned out that this was a big trash bag full of restaurant, like it almost looked like as if a restaurant emptied its grease trap like into this bag, and like all its like old food and like food containers, and it was just this rotting, disgusting grease mess staining the concrete. And I'm sitting there like, well, I came here for one thing, and then I put on my medical gloves because I carry a med kit. So I put on the medical like gloves because I didn't have anything else. I was like, I guess I'm going for it. And I spent like 30 minutes trying to clean up it as best as I could, but it was gross. It smelled. It got on my gloves, which are fabric, so that like, it was so gross. But it's fine. I picked it up and then I ended up throwing it away, and moved on with my life. But I will never forget that because it's like I went out seeking for a certain thing. I literally had an intention and I said, this is what I'm going to do. I want to pick up trash. And I feel like the universe said, oh yeah, bet. And then gave me that. And I was like, well, I did it. So there's that. It was fun.
Really
I had
funny.
fun.
Wow. How do you decide where to like do your patrols and your outreach?
That kind of depends. I do it locally usually when I don't have any events to go to, but I usually find different events that I subscribe to locally that I've kind of like, the algorithm of Instagram actually kind of just started giving me things that were happening in the area based off of like what I watch and stuff. And it's like, hey, this event's happening near you. Oh, like there's a No Kings protest happening over here. Want to sign up? And I was like, yeah. So the algorithm is actually kind of what got me into doing different events that allow me to plan where I want to go. And a lot of it is in Phoenix. I travel to different cities all around Phoenix area, anywhere between north to Scottsdale to Phoenix, anywhere to the east to the west or the south. I'm kind of all over the valley. And yeah, so usually that stuff will just kind of pop up as I'm doing like my scroll, and I'll save it and I'll be like, oh, this is something I'm interested in. Oh, there's a food drive happening on the 14th. I'm going to go do stuff like that. But yeah, that's where I find usually how I scope out where I want to be and what I want to do. And I kind of pre-plan it a couple weeks in advance to make sure that I have the time.
Sounds like the algorithm is actually useful in this scenario.
Yeah, for once in our lives, right?
Besides just like trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah. They keep trying to sell me a pillow and it's really funny.
What kind of tools do you carry on you when you're on patrol?
Well, if it's a basic trash patrol, I carry gloves. After my first experience, I actually have like long cleaning gloves, so I don't have to deal with anything gross. And then I always carry a med kit, trash bags. I have a bunch of like yellow like latex gloves just in case. Um, and then I also have like my tripod because I like to usually record on my phone and stuff, so I'll carry that with me. If I'm going to an event, I actually have a very special, I call it my cooling station, because I am based out of Arizona and it is summer and it is very hot. And people are out there protesting and using their First Amendment, and they are doing it at the risk of heat stroke, and which can develop into really serious heat related problems and health issues and concerns. Um, so when I go out to events, I have 3 pails that I fill up with water and ice. I put water bottles in them so that people have ice cold water to drink. And then I have a couple of like 1 pail set aside with ice water in it too. But I actually have these microfiber cloths that I just rip apart from the roll, and I put them into this bucket and I let them soak, and I take up all of that cold water. So then that way, when I'm out doing these events, when I'm at like No Kings protests or just events in general, I have my wagon with me and I will actually be passing out these rags. I also have like the spreadable hand fans. And I will, so, and then I sometimes have like a bag of like snacks and stuff like that. But the cooling station is a major like importance. And I also carry, I dual wield actually, let me just throw that out there. I dual wield 2 giant spray bottles full of water. So not only do people have the ability to just wring out their, if they want to dip their towel back into the ice water, I let them, you know. And then I also can spray people down. I carry sunscreen as well because that is super important. The sun rays, the UV out here is extremely dangerous, and skin cancer is a very big thing out here. So I carry all that. My entire cooling station and my sunscreen, and then of course the stuff that I take normally, so the bags, the gloves, you know, stuff like that. I like to be over prepared because you can never be over prepared in the summer heat, you know. So I want to make sure people aren't passing out on the streets, that they're not, you know, getting extremely sick by trying to make a difference, you know, that to make sure that they're supported physically, because people are very, they overestimate, you know, I'm sorry, they underestimate the sun, you know, and I like to be there to make sure that I'm not underestimating anything and that these people are safe.
It's really awesome. Especially, I can imagine in Arizona. I was only there for like a short period of time, and it wasn't even during summer. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's rough out here, and it's not even like the peak of heat yet. It's been 107 consistently the past week or so, but deeper in the summer we hit like 113, 114, 115, sometimes 118. Very, it's not rare, but it happens once in a while, you know. So, you know, you kind of have to prepare for those things. And that's in every state. Every state has its own weather patterns that people must be aware of when they do this work.
What's the strangest thing that you've seen on a mission? Was it the bag of grease
Yeah,
trap?
probably. Everything else has been pretty mellow since. Everyone's usually really nice, you know. I will never forget that bag of trash. It haunts me.
Do you think that the super suit is necessary for hero work?
I do. If you are planning on being some sort of influencer media entertainer, because RLSH is very commonly and is associated with activism. And in the world that we're in right now, people like us are targeted. And you have to protect your identity, not just for yourself, but for the people that you care about, your family, you know. Um, I will not and never will share any of my personal information, and I don't think anyone should. Um, Now, if you want to be local and you don't plan on, you know, like putting yourself out there on media where people will criticize you and will, you know, try to take you down, um, I don't think you need to. Um, But of course, it's always welcome because the entire point is to help bring awareness to the cause and the situations and stuff like that. And what better way to do it in a costume where people look at you funny and they're like, "What are you doing?" you know? Um, but yeah, I think it just depends on the situation. But definitely, 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 if you are planning on putting yourself online, you should and absolutely should have a costume to protect yourself.
Do you think that physical training or martial arts is necessary for hero work?
I think it's necessary in general, to be honest, not even just as heroes. You should always learn how to defend yourself, especially if you're in areas that are suburbs or near cities. Um, there's always some sort of area where you need to be aware where you're going. You have to be extremely cautious, just because we dress up in costumes and yeah, we kind of play around and do some fun heroing things. Um, it's very serious work that we do and very serious real danger that we put ourselves in. And not even just me, but there are heroes that are out there that actively engage in physical things. And those people obviously would need the self training and the self defense. I think in general, as human beings and in the world we live in, you should have some basic knowledge of self defense. You don't have to be a professional, you don't have to do things all the time. But if you ever find yourself stuck in a situation, you need to be able to hold out long enough where people can come and help you, you know, um, especially like people who are younger or people who fall into categories of vulnerability, you know, like I use a lot of statistics and likelihoodness on stuff like this sometimes. But if like me, if like I'm I look like a pretty small, frail woman, and if I'm walking on the streets out at night, um, I don't weigh much. I probably look like I can't defend myself. And if people decide to want to come jump me, they could probably get away with it. This is how people get hurt and kidnapped all the time. Children, women, men, anybody that have a stature that appears like they can't handle themselves. Which is why I emphasize, I think, if you can ever um, learn how to just defend yourself, carry something with you if you need it, but be responsible.
Do you think that keeping a secret identity is necessary for hero work?
I think that wraps back up into the costume. If you put it online, yes. If you're online in general, absolutely, because you will be hunted down. There are people that are so tech savvy that know where to find you, and stuff like that. And it's just important to be aware, especially if you have people in your life that you do not want to get involved in this kind of thing. Because, like I said, a lot of us put ourselves out there, which means not only do we have to protect ourselves, but we have to protect the ones we love too. Our families, our friends, our workplaces, that's how you get stalkers. It's just best to stay as hidden as possible, um, and not get too personal and with the internet on that level.
What makes a hero in your eyes?
A hero, I believe, is anybody who can inspire and uplift people around them and themselves. You can't be a hero if you can't help yourself, for starters. Two, when you have the confidence to trust in your knowledge and to trust in your skills, to believe that you have something passionate to bring to your community or to your world, you can then inspire other people to do the same, because your confidence, when you know what you want, people will see that and it'll inspire, you know. And that's kind of like what I focus on mainly, is that I kind of touch up, like I said, on mental health, physical health, and emotional health, because so many people struggle with that. So many people have self-image issues, and I see it in heroes, I see it in kids and adults of all ages. It's very real because we do live in a society where that kind of realistic nature of humanity is silenced. It is muted by just structures we live in. The natural way that we have learned how to survive doesn't apply to nowadays world. You know, And I think it's super important to be able to inspire other people, to show someone that it's not just black and white, you know? And that is what makes a hero. If someone can carry themselves in a way that can also shine as a torch for other people, but those people must choose whether or not they want to light that torch that's handed to them. But a hero should be the one giving it to begin with.
Speaking of inspiration, what was the inspiration behind your suit?
So, I'm a very creative individual in my personal life. Um, I love art. I enjoy seeing people's process of creativity, and I love originality. I have noticed, and the way that I have come to look at the world is that we live in a void. I mean, every star, every planet is separated by billions and billions of light years, or what have you, galaxies and whatever. There is a black mass, a void that we all are in. But if you look closely at each individual star, at each individual planet, there's color, there's life, or evidence of life. And in every dark void, you have the entire color spectrum to play with, to use, to create and build what you want to see. And my costume is inspired off of that idea that the black represents the void, but the colors represent your choices and everything in your control and what you can build to create a better world for yourself.
I love that. That's very beautiful. And
Thank
so is
you.
the suit.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Are you currently on, or do you ever plan on becoming a part of like a superhero team? Have you ever collaborated with other heroes?
I am in the process of collaborating with other heroes that I'm not gonna get much detail into, but that will be soon announced and figured out in the future. Um, as for teams, I don't really plan on being on a team. Um, I'm very independent on my journey with what I do, um, but I'm not against partnering or teaming up with other people if I'm approached. I will definitely travel to help out if I can. Um, but when it comes here, I know that there have been some people I've met who are aspiring RLSH members that want to be more active locally. And I would love to team up with them and help them out. But again, like my focus is something that I feel like only that is within my intention. What I want to bring to people, to the community, is only something that I know how to bring because it's what I set out to do. um, and I embrace that fully, and that is a journey that I would like to follow on my own. um, but that requires me to also be able to extend myself out to other RLSH members, and I'm more than happy to. I'm more than happy to talk with and collaborate and help. But as far as a team, I think it's way too early for me to decide whether or not I want to be on one or not.
It's very understandable. Um, is it difficult for you to balance your secret identity and hero identity?
Actually, yeah, it is. I do have a very support, like a big support group of people who know what I do. Um, Personally, I don't actually hide it from my close circle of people. In fact, I like to tell them where I'm at because if anything happens, I have people who will come help me. you know,
Right.
I think that's super important to have, and it doesn't need to be a bunch of people. It can literally just be one person, but you should always have someone know where you are at all times, so that if something ever happens, you have someone who knows where to look for you, or how to help you. Um, I actually live three different lives. I have my personal, I have a different online identity, and I have my hero identity. Um, and that is hard to balance a lot because I have different people in all of those lives that I tend to, that I talk to and I help. And a lot of those people are very close to me. But I'm doing it so passionately and I'm doing it so proudly that I don't regret having 3 different lives. I don't regret having to stretch myself thin to do these things because it truly makes me proud of myself and it truly makes me happy to see other people, that look up at me and they're like, "You're inspiring." And I'm like, "Thank you. You're inspiring." you know. Um, but it is hard, especially with my heroing stuff because it's so new to me. Um, and I have to try to learn how to like filming and making videos and everything like that content I've never done before, not on this level. So trying to figure out where I want to be, what I want to do, like, and not think about these things in times where I'm trying to be present in my other lives. I'm trying to find that balance. And I've been working on that this past week and a half or so. Because especially since my video got super big and I wasn't expecting that. But it allows me to, it's challenging me. But it's also teaching me how to stay present with where I need to be. So I picked up a lot of journaling, I picked up a lot of scheduling, and I'm trying to create different parts where I can solely focus a couple minutes on maybe scrolling through my hero Instagram, or then maybe spending the rest of my day present with another being or something that I care about, It's challenging. It is very hard and it is very new, but I'm very open-minded about it and I'm very aware of it. So it allows me to kind of create a schedule.
Um, is your talent in art, like your drawing, painting, costume building, is it intrinsic and complementary to your hero work?
Sort of. The underlying, I've always wanted to inspire people. I've always wanted to make something that drove other people to see the beauty in themselves and in the world and in humanity. Every time I've drawn something, I've always had that in the back of my mind. I've always wanted to make something that people looked at and then they were like, I'm inspired, and they feel all those beautiful emotions, you know. Um, and it's very much the same ideal with my heroing. Um, and I'm very happy to be able to learn how to translate all of that into one big, massive yippee, you know. Um, so yeah, I would say so. Although I do keep it completely separate. I don't do any art in my heroing, and I don't do any like and vice versa, So I'd like to keep those lives separate. I'm definitely inspired as a hero from my artistic life to do what I'm doing. Hence my costume, it's very colorful and looks like drip paints and whatever.
Yeah.
But I do like to keep those lives separate.
Is hero work a form of artistic and political expression for you?
In a way, I think it's more about, it is political in a sense that um, I do drive that stuff, but I don't drive it as heavily as some other heroes. Some other heroes are like consistent, like XYZ, I am, but I focus more on helping people with mental processes and physical processes. That is where my focus lies, rather than going, like, being, I don't know, I can't really give an example right now. Um, but not that it's a bad thing or anything I'm saying that people shouldn't do that. But I just think that my skills and where my voice lies is within a nurturing way rather than it being a fiery, passionate way. Where some other heroes, they are so fiery and they're so passionate, and I love that because we need voices like that. My voice isn't empowering like that. My voice is empowering in a nurturing, kind, uplifting way, where I am not as fiery, but I still respect it. And I still believe that we need that kind of passion to help drive the meaning of RLSH further, to help us achieve what we want to do for, us and our communities. Um, It's just not who I am, though.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm not terribly the most vocal person, but I wanted to help others and
Yeah.
find a bit of a platform. So
Yeah,
here I
absolutely.
am.
And you are, and this is very unique and very fun. And I'm so excited that you're also on this journey for your bugle. I think it's so cool.
Thank you. I've been really enjoying the process of interviewing everyone and just talking to what's inspiring to other people, like what brought them to RLSH. It's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was it like kind of blowing up on Instagram so suddenly? You kind of got
Oh,
like what was it? 9,000 likes on that one video?
yeah, I've actually just hit 10.1K on it. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that. I literally went out 2 weekends ago on a whim, literally the day before I left. I was like, I'm gonna go to Phoenix and I'm just gonna go stay in a hotel and just go do hero stuff. Why not? And then I decided to do it in honor of Pride, because it was like the 1st of June on that Monday. So I went to our local neighborhood in Phoenix, and I decided to start making content because I didn't have any really yet. And I was like, this would be kind of fun. And I'm taking a weekend to myself and I'll figure it out. And then before I was getting ready to go on my patrol, I was like, you know what? I should make like a little montage video of me getting ready, or me getting into costume. Um, I didn't think that that would draw so much attention. I had people from all over like liking and commenting and reposting and messaging me, and I was just like, I don't. Some of these people are so unrelated to RLSH too, and I don't know where they came from. But I am super honored and I'm super humbled by it. Of course, you always have your critics, but even then, the amount of overwhelming support that I got was incredible. And I hadn't even introduced my intentions. I hadn't even introduced myself to the community and exactly explained what I want to be and what I want to do for people. They just saw my costume and then they were like, and I was like, that's incredible. I am so incredibly humbled by it. And it's quieted down a little bit, and I think that is really nice because when it first happened, I was so positively overwhelmed. I was kind of riding like this weird adrenaline high because I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even, what am I doing? Who am I? Like I wasn't expecting it. But I got to meet some really cool people and it opened up some windows and doors for me, to see things from different perspectives and to meet new people. And it's really leading me into this new life that I'm exploring, and I'm super grateful for it, and I really hope that um, in the future, the more that I make, the more useful and helpful people will see it for, because that's all I want to do, And I'm not in it for the views. I mean, I do it because I want people to see that they have options. I want people to see that there is color and there's light and there's hope beyond what we're facing, Um, and I hope that I can continue to inspire people and to show people that it's possible. I don't expect to take off. Like it is not something that I'm striving for. Um, my goal is to create a butterfly effect. If I can inspire one person a day, it doesn't even have to be in costume. I could be at home or wherever. If I can talk to somebody and inspire them and just make them smile and create that butterfly effect, because if I do that to them, they're going to remember that and they're going to remember to do that to other people. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. I don't want, I made it's on my Instagram, I believe, but there's a quote that I made, and I think it was something along the lines of, I don't believe that one person can carry the world, but like the world can, oh, I don't believe that one voice can carry the world, but the world can carry one voice. And I really do believe in that. because you need multiple people to be unified to be able to drive forward this love and this kindness and this truth, you know.
What is your favorite story from like a patrol or a mission? Like, was there any particular interaction with a community member that stuck with you?
Actually, yeah. So recently, this last weekend, I just went to Arizona's biggest con, pop culture. It's called Phoenix Fan Fusion. And I went on Sunday in costume. And I actually ran into, like, the first person I ran into was someone who was wanting to become an RLSH member. And I knew that I've talked to them before, but they were like right up to me and like, "Oh my gosh, you're Taro," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I know you," you know. And ever since like that moment, I had in the same day, I had two other complete strangers know who I was, and I was like, "That's crazy," like that's
Wow.
crazy, you know. They came up to me and they're like, "I've seen you before." And then they're like, it was on like Instagram or something. And then they were like, "You're like a part of RLSH, right?" And I was like, "Yeah," you know. And again, I still hadn't even made an introduction video to like who I was, you know, but people recognized me. And there was unrelated, but there was this little girl, and she must have been like 3 or 4 maybe. And she had like an older sister who must have been like a year or two older than her. And they're both dressed up as different versions of like Spider-Man, but it was Spider-Gwen, and then I can't remember what the other one was. But she saw me because again, a lot of people look at me and they're like Spider-Man, which makes sense because like I said, his costume is just super easy to do stuff in, like to be agile, to see, you know, to move around, and it's also very breathable. So in Arizona, I'm not going to suit up in a bunch of armor. I'm going to have a freaking heat stroke. You know, I can't wear heavy clothes or anything wool because I'm going to have a heat stroke. So
Right.
I need something that's breathable and movable. That even though it looks layered, it's actually not that thick. Um, but anyways, this little girl, she saw me and she was like, "Oh, Spider-Man," you know, and she wanted to take a photo with me. And she was so sweet. And I gave her a sticker because I had a couple like custom like tarot card themed stickers that I was handing out to people
Aw.
at the con. And she just like, I don't know where she got this thing, but it was a little pin. And it was a pin that I think she made because they have like a bunch of kid craft areas within the con. And she's like, "I made this for you," and she put it on my bag, and I was so happy. She was so sweet. I don't think I'll ever forget that. And it wasn't even like, I mean, I wouldn't call it a mission because I wasn't there like doing anything heavy. I was patrolling the lines at first because it was very hot, and I wasn't there Saturday, and I heard that people were in line for hours in the heat. Um, so I did bring my supplies at first, like my cooling stuff, just to kind of monitor the lines. But Sunday the lines went by really quick, so there wasn't anyone in any danger. So I put it all away, and then I just went to enjoy the con. Um, but yeah, I think that was super cool to experience. You know, seeing people actually like in person and talk with them. You know, about like, "Hey, I know you," and I'm like, "That's crazy. I don't know you. Who are you?" You know.
Is there any particular movement or cause that you find yourself most wanting to support and bring attention to?
Yeah. I'm gonna like I'm gonna recap with the mental awareness, a mental health awareness. Um, but also I haven't touched on this yet, but I'm a big environmentalist. I really believe in protecting our planet, our home. You know, without her, we wouldn't be here. And she's in big risk, and she's suffering from the greed of humanity. And actually, there's a lot of stuff happening all over, you know, where she's mistreated. You know, we have parks here in Arizona that are being blown up, that should be protected by state park laws, that are just being blown up by the government so that they can build a wall, um, which is it's sad because there is no the every day I'm seeing something about how park laws are being bypassed, and not even like just because they have like I don't know, it's not like really like a warrant situation, but they're somehow figuring out a way to bypass these laws, and they don't care. They're taking fundings from parks and park upkeepings from, like, extreme, like, major parks. Um, and it hurts. It hurts me a lot, because not only can't we get help for our people, but we can't get help for our earth. And there are other countries that actually do prioritize their earth, and the part of earth that they live on. Here, she's just as much risk as we people are, Um, and I'm worried about the effects long term it'll have on our atmosphere, and in turn, what happens to her happens to us, you know. Um, so in time, I'll probably be making more videos and stuff that bring awareness to stuff like that. I actually wrote a little research paper that talks about regenerative farming, and pesticides, and the effect that it has not only on our planet but our health. And that's something that I just recently made, and I haven't really posted it anywhere, but it's out there. I do have it, which I might end up making into a video later to bring like awareness to and stuff. But that is like, other than like the mental, physical, emotional health, I do state in some of my stuff that I also bring that awareness to our planet and our home, you know, because that's super, super important to me, because I feel like that stuff is overlooked very easily. Um, because there's so many things to look at, there's so many dangers and there's so many things wrong. You can't possibly keep in mind everything that's going on, So I want to try to show people to make those neurological connections of how this effect will make a butterfly effect of its own and create problems long term, for our health and for the health of Earth.
Well, I would like to thank you for taking this time to join me, because this was a lovely conversation. And before we get to the final three questions, I just wanted to thank you, Painted Tarot. Your work is very inspiring, and I am very excited to see where you go on your hero journey.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Our first question is, do you have an origin story?
My origin story, I kind of brushed up upon a little bit, but I've always wanted to do something to help people, right? And I happened to be at work, and I was just kind of doing a task, and I had my assistant there. And for some reason that day, I was feeling super inspired, and I was like, listening to music, and I was just kind of doing my thing. And I was just like, I looked at my coworker, and I was like, I really wish I could be a hero. Like, I just wish I could be a hero. I just want to help people. I had no idea what RLSH was. I didn't even know this was a thing, you know? And my friend looked at me, my assistant, and they were like, did you, did you ever hear about the guy who dresses up in Albuquerque like a superhero? And I was like, no, who's that? you know? Obviously Skyline, because that was when Skyline started taking off and kind of appearing on everyone's feeds and stuff like that. But my friend had saw him on TikTok, and was like, yeah, there's the guy. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then that's when I kind of discovered RLSH and stuff like that. That's my origin story. It's pretty basic. I literally just said I want to be a superhero, and then I discovered RLSH, and then I became one, you know.
Right. The Skyline to superhero pipeline is very real.
Yeah, I mean, he's inspired a lot of individuals, and it's very, beautiful. I respect that a lot. The amount of movement he's created on his own, and then the amount of people that support him. What goes around comes around, and you see it clearly with him.
100%. Is there anything that you would like to say to anyone who feels powerless in the face of the world's adversities?
The first thing is that the world is a disaster. Everyone knows this. There are bad things happening left and right. You can only control what is in your power, you know? And you're also not alone. There's actually a lot of people that the news doesn't cover, that other people don't cover, of the good that's happening. I kind of made a little video about that because I ended up infiltrating my state capitol on accident. But I got to speak to a lot of people there, House like representatives, and the amount of passion and the amount of change that they drive for is real, and they want to protect people of all different kinds. And that was a super inspiring thing to be a part of. I've seen it, and I never even thought really that like there was anyone like that, because before all of this, I wasn't big into politics. I have learned so much this year, um, and being able to see that, it proved to me that there are people fighting for you. There are people fighting for individuals who don't have that voice, who may not have the ability to, whether or not like physically or not, like they can't fight for themselves. There are a bunch of people fighting for you, and sometimes it's okay to step away from the news. It's okay, you should be aware of things, but don't drown your life in them either. You fight for what you believe is right, and you will always have support. There, with every risk there is a consequence, but with every consequence there is an outcome, and that outcome doesn't have to be end of the world, like everything's over, everything's ruined. There is an other half of that is that we have to rebuild, that we have to bring more awareness to, that love, that light, that unity, the community and the humanity. We need to bring that back. And I believe that people can do it. I believe that you can do it. Um, and I want to be there to support people on that journey.
Um, the final question is a bit of a joke question. You don't have to answer at all. Who is your secret identity?
I don't even know how to answer that. I already said I had 3 different lives, so I guess that's all the teasing you're gonna get for that one.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, thank you for joining me today or tonight. It was really lovely having this conversation with you. I enjoyed pretty much everything that you had to say. So thank you.
Likewise, Dandelion, I really appreciate all the work that you do, and I also honor you on your journey, and I'm sending so much love and light for your future on your exploration, for your videos and your interviews. It's amazing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Bye, Painted Tarot.
Bye, hun. We'll see you later.
See you later.